When we decided to start our podcast, we really wanted something that was fun and easy and user-friendly for our listeners. So the Anchor app has been a blessing. We can do literally everything here. We record, we edit, we upload everything right here on the Anchor app. It's super, super easy to use and super user-friendly. I strongly recommend you guys download the Anchor app by going to your app store and typing in Anchor, and you'll see it pop right up. It's literally been a blessing to us. It's the best thing that we have for podcasting and sharing our podcast. So you guys be sure to do that. Anchor app.
Girl, I'm a strong black woman, girl. I left him, girl. I gave him back all his money, all his cars, all his shit. I gave him back all that shit, girl. He be calling me right now, trying to get back with me, girl. I ain't with that shit. I said,
So you trying to tell me you gave him back all his shit? You ain't got nothing. You walked away with nothing.
Yeah, girl, I gave him back all that shit, girl. I ain't with that shit. Girl, Girl, I ain't told you to do no shit like that. You done lost your motherfucking mind.
What's up, y'all? It's Victoria Balenciaga.
And it's Mocha 3 Bad, and we are the Hair Gawds.
And you've tuned into the Gawdess Lounge.
All right, so guys, I'm so excited to be here today. We have come a long way. We have been wanting a podcast for the longest, but really between the time and the energy, we just didn't have it. And thanks to our new life circumstances, sarcasm, what better time than now to make the Gawdess Lounge a real thing. And the thing that I wanted to talk about first and foremost is the Gawdess Lounge.
So what is the Gawdess Lounge for those of, the listeners that don't know?
The Gawdess Lounge is this bomb-ass group that we thought of in 2017. It's a women's only group, and we are all about sisterhood, all about loving on each other, growing. We talk shit. We kick the what is it called? How do you say?
Is it kick the bucket, or that means you died?
Because if you say you kick the bucket, it definitely means you die.
Okay, so we don't die, we multiply.
We shoot the bucket. Shoot the bullet.
Yes.
I don't know. Give it down. Nonetheless, so we talk our shit and we have us a good time. But what irritates me the most is that men are so freaking jealous of our group that they just swear it's some type of secret society of angry, bitter women who use this platform to bash each other, to bash men, or to, talk about how they ain't shit all day, when truthfully we don't even be thinking about their asses half the time.
At all. Yeah.
So but the thing that does happen though, when some guy randomly talks shit on social media or says something really stupid, it does make it back to the Gawdess Lounge. So at that point we are saying our opinions and talking about how we feel about it, and it doesn't always come off nice. But again,
it's just like we talk about anything else, right?
Right, definitely. But yeah, that's the stigma that it has, and I really wanted to address the differences between a toxic female, toxic femininity, and feminism, because somehow, some way, somebody got it messed up. Cool.
Let's get into it. I'm so excited.
First and foremost, these are just our opinions. Okay, because we're going to talk our shit. At the end of the day, it's our opinions. The opinions that are expressed between Victoria Balenciaga and myself are not the golden rule. It's not the end of all. It's not the only way we think. We think in several layers. We're just here for a few minutes to talk our shit and make our point. So please do not take what we say and make it
law. Yeah, if they say I said it, I said it.
I said what I said. Okay. All right. But so Rach, what is feminism or femininity, whichever one?
Okay, so can I do feminine? Okay,
sure.
So the dictionary, I'm looking at Oxford right now, describes being feminine as having qualities or an appearance traditionally associated with women, especially delicacy and prettiness. So an example of that, like something that's traditionally associated with women is like the color pink. So when a man wears pink, people like to make fun of him or whatever because pink is considered to be a feminine color.
I like how you broke that down, girl.
Okay.
All right. And do you for feminism?
Let's see here. Yes, in my lovely Rolodex, I have feminism. So feminism is the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of equality of the sexes.
All right. So the thing about feminism is that it's so many layers to it that it can be misconstrued or construed however many ways to make it exactly what you want it to be. But in general, I would have to say that I personally am not a feminist. Okay. I do believe I'm an equalist, but I'm a woman first. So then it does sound like I'm being a feminist because I just want women to, which is the definition of feminism. But it's not, because I don't care. If I were a man, I would still want to be treated fairly. So, and not even equally, because I don't think that nothing we do as men and women can be done equally. Does that make sense? Because men are men and women are women, but we don't have the same lives to be treated equally, but fairly is what bothers me. Like, I just want to be treated fairly. Do you believe that you're a feminist?
I don't think that I am a feminist per se. I do think feminism is subjective. I consider myself to be a humanist. I'm a human being. I want everybody to be treated fairly. However, being that I am a woman and I am a Black woman, I tend to have a softer, I said softer, girl, a softer spot for women. When it comes to women's issues, I'm always trying to figure out how, we can make them better, because I've never experienced life as a man. Although I can empathize with some of the things that happen, I don't know what it's like.
All right, cool. So there's obviously different layers to this conversation, and I have my reasons for wanting to talk about this first and foremost, but I have to say exactly what we do in the Gawdess Lounge before I go anything. Because like I said, there's 3 layers to me, how this conversation can go. And I have to point out first and foremost how women can be the downfall of our own, like the reason behind our own problems. And some of it, we can say in the Gawdess Lounge, we see a lot of great things, awesome things, women being awesome mothers, awesome friends. They're coming for advice to be better lovers, all these things, and that's inspiring. That's exactly what the Gawdess Lounge is about. That's exactly what we want it for. But then if you're friends with some of these same people, not on the Gawdess Lounge, but just women in general, we see some women in the Gawdess Lounge being the best they can be, but then you go on your timeline, then you see other type of women, and then you see other type of men blaming all women for this type of woman that they're coming into contact with. And it's kind of like, how do we separate the two? And then how do we incorporate what we do in the Gawdess Lounge in all areas of our life? Do you get what I'm saying? Because that's how we came out with the three topics that we have: feminism, toxic females, and toxic femininity. So feminism is what I can't say what we do in the Gawdess Lounge, because again, feminism is subjective, but it's more so what we do in the Gawdess Lounge. But then we go on the Facebook feed, and then we have the toxic female, and then we go out into the world, and then we see some toxic femininity. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, it's
so much. It's so much, but we're gonna unpack this. We're gonna, get a good debate discussion out of this. Mind you, we're talking about toxic femininity and toxic females. We are very, very cognizant that there are toxic males and there's toxic, masculinity. And we will cover that as well. But what we can do is be accountable for what it is that we do as women. And we only want the best for our listeners. We want the best for the women in the Gawdess Lounge. So we're just shooting the shit right now.
All right. So I'm glad you mentioned toxic masculinity. So I would love to sit here and talk about toxic masculinity, but honestly, because I'm a woman, I don't
Exactly.
care. But I will give a definition of toxic masculinity. It basically refers to traditional cultural masculine norms that can be harmful to men, women, and society overall. This concept of toxic masculinity is not intended to demonize men or male attributes, but rather emphasize the harmful effects of conformity to certain traditional agendas. All right, that's what a toxic masculine man is. And for every yin, there's a yang.
Yeah.
If there's a toxic masculine man, there's toxic femininity in women. And some traits of a toxic female in the workplace or, in our lives are those bosses who get the job and then now they become a total bitch, or to have this power trip, or have to go, or are overzealous trying to prove their strength in their position because they're a woman and they work with a bunch of men, so now they're super strong and being kind of rude or impolite to the male counterparts, and it comes in the form of abuse of power. There's tons of ways, and I'm stuck.
Okay. 1 second. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that. Like, I know someone in particular who she's like the leader of a group of construction workers, right? It's a friend of mine who she's a manager, and she uses her femininity to get her way. So, for example, to me, I don't really think that business and personal should mix, right?
Right.
You know that you're moving into somewhere. Instead of you hiring movers, you're using your feminine wilds to your advantage and asking the men that work for you to move your stuff into your apartment. That to me is an abuse of power. Because who's going to say no
Right.
to their manager?
Right.
Who's going to say no to their female manager?
And then also there's other ways where we want to be, again, we want to practice feminism and want to be equal in all ways, but then our period comes on every month and here we go. Oh, you guys, I'm sorry I was being a bitch yesterday. It was the first day of my cycle. Or I can't come to work today because of woman issues. It's like that's where feminism and being equal in society is kind of like you're using these things toxically because those are things that only women have that men can't do. A man can't come to work and be like, oh, my period on today, so y'all have to excuse me for how I was acting. I knew I was being rude for a reason. Those are things that women do.
Yeah.
And it sucks. And again, we have to look in the mirror and we have to say, how can we confront those issues without it being, toxic?
And then, I don't I don't want to come off as being hypocritical, but like with the example that you just used about, the menstrual cycle,
mm-hmm.
I'm the type of person, like if I was working somewhere, if I could use anything to my advantage, I will. Do you know what I'm saying?
Of course, but is it because you're a woman or is it because that's just your personality?
It's because I need to go on a trip. I'm so sorry.
Okay, I think we've all pulled that one, but men can't use their period as one.
You're
okay,
right.
So let's change the subject. So let me tell you how else women are usually toxic.
Yeah.
Using toxic femininity is withholding sex in their relationships. So this guy pisses you off because he fell asleep and he didn't clean the dishes or whatever it is, and the next day you decide, well, I'm not having sex with him. So basically you're withholding sex to prove your point or to get your way about something. That's toxic. And honestly, those are things that men use as an excuse to step out. But then how are you contributing to that situation? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, if not saying that you're supposed to have sex when you don't want to, because obviously you're not supposed to do that. But if your end game is always using what you have and something that he wants against him, then how when are you going to realize that you're the toxic one in that situation? Or
But here,
how
can
women
I interrupt once again? I'm so sorry.
No, please
Yeah.
interrupt. It's fine.
In a situation like that you just brought up, which I think is like probably like a top 10 things that women would use as a form of punishment, is, you know how you said he would use that as an excuse to step out. Someone
Right.
comes to you telling you, oh, he's not cleaning, he's not cooking, he's not providing, so I'm withholding sex, and then tells you he stepped out. How do you, as a god sister, that's how we refer to each other, by the way, guys, in the Gawdess Lounge, how do you, as a god sister, provide advice for someone in that situation?
Okay, why isn't he cooking, cleaning? Like, is it that's different?
Yeah.
Like, first of all, I try not to give too much advice because
Not your relationship.
It's not my relationship.
Yeah.
And then no one knows it all.
Mm-hmm.
And before someone even says something, they've already been through so much, or they're only speaking their truth. Your truth could be, oh, he's not cleaning up and he's not cooking, and or so I've been withholding sex and now he's cheating.
Yeah.
Well, sis, what happened? What got you guys to that point? Was he always a cheater and now he's a cheater that just doesn't clean up and cook?
Mm-hmm.
Or did you stop? There's just so much to it. So honestly, as a god sister, I would just try to ask as many questions as possible and get down to the bottom of it. But at the end of the day, another toxic trait would be saying, sis, just leave him.
Girl, we could end the show. We can end the show because we finna go in.
We can't end the show because
we
got
go
this.
in.
This is why we're here, because this is shit that we just don't have the time to say, or what we can't say in words. Is another toxic feminine trait is saying, girl, just leave him because I care about you so much. I don't like to see you going through that. That is a true statement. We do care about the people who we love. But at the end of the day, it's not our place to tell someone to leave their husband or their spouses for whatever reason every time they say something bad, unless the person is obviously in danger of their, getting used, abused, and beat on. That's different. But every time our friends or families or loved ones come to us and tell us something, our first response shouldn't be, and damn sure better not be, oh, you need to leave him because I care about you. Okay, I'm going to leave him because you care about me, but are you going to come pay these bills? Are you going to take care of my children? Are you going to make sure that I'm okay when I'm 75 and I need my ass wiped?
To me, that is a manipulation tactic, friendship-wise, when people say stuff like that, because of what you just said. Are you going to pay these bills? You know I just had a baby and I have no job and all that stuff. The first thing that comes out of your mouth is leave him? Or I don't even like his ass anyway. Bitch, do you have to be with him? I do.
And then also, women taking those same children and they've left him and then using it over this man's head. Oh, my child can't come to your house because you got a new girlfriend. What? So we didn't work because you were withholding sex, and then our relationship went to shit. Then your friend told you to leave me and you left. And now I've moved on and got a girlfriend. And you're telling me that the child that we made together, who I feel just as much love for as you, can't come around me because I have someone else that I love that isn't you. Woo! Toxic. But again, that's toxic femininity, using your strengths using your weaknesses for wins. For someone's weaknesses for wins. You know that man's weakness is his child. You know that his weakness is his sex. And you, as a woman, are using those things against him, and then
just to get your way.
And then turning around and then bashing the guy because you're not seeing how you're being toxic. And I feel like this conversation, although it might have started out, a little rocky, it's one that needs to be had, because a lot of time we as women, when men say we have a hard time apologizing or we never wrong, it's because there's so much to it aside from just, oh, you were wrong in that moment. Take yourself out of the picture and look at it. You're being toxic and you're using your weaknesses for wins. Oh, I can't even talk to my woman when things are going wrong, because every time she cries, she tries to make me feel bad. She holds it over my head. She uses it again. That's toxic femininity. And Again, it's not about men. It's not about men and women. It's not about relationships. It's about looking at ourselves and saying, you know what? I was wrong. And I'm using toxic femininity to sway these situations. Now, what about toxic females, Rachel?
Oh, they are everywhere, every goddamn day, every city, there's toxic females everywhere. Just like there are toxic males, but that is just not what we're discussing today. It is absolutely toxic to continue to behave the way that you behave without wanting to take a second out of your day to reflect on what am I doing to attract all this drama?
Right.
What am I doing that every single relationship I get into, whether it is a friendship, every single job I get into, everything I do, it always goes wrong. Or people always say I'm this, people say I'm that. I mean, if a lot of people are saying the same thing about you, what's that saying? Do you know what it is? Because I don't.
If everyone has the same complaints, then maybe it's not them, it's you.
Exactly. And you know what? One of the things that I do love about the Gawdess Lounge on Facebook, spelled Gawdess. If you're a female or woman, you can join.
Nice plug.
One thing that I like is that we do hold each other accountable. When, if I'm constantly coming every day in the Gawdess Lounge and I'm saying toxic shit, somebody is going to either say to me under my comment or inbox me and be like, hey, are you okay? What's got you acting like this and all that stuff? And that's the type of stuff we need in this world. Instead of us all talking about such and such who is being toxic, we need to approach such and such and say, sis, you are being toxic.
And then sis needs to have accountability for her own actions.
Absolutely.
All right, so let me give y'all a quick story. And I was going to write it in our group on Facebook, but I decided to I didn't want to talk about the situation because I knew that we were going to have this podcast, and it was a great example of toxicity. Ugh, that's so hard to say. And I had to save it for now because I was in the doctor's office with my daughter, and number one, the corona is going around, so everyone is 6 feet, 10 feet apart. And so, I have a good eyes view of what's going on around me because no one's directly next to me. And there's this woman, in my opinion, because of course I would never judge a mother by 10 minutes of actions. But one thing I don't like is when someone does not treat their children with the utmost respect, even in anger, even in frustration. Children are still people and they still have feelings.
100%.
So this lady was, she was in her phone and she was obviously frustrated with her son, who could not be more than 8 years old. And he is, he has his leg crossed and he has on like some flip-flops, and the shoe kept falling off his foot. So he kept, standing up, putting it on. Mm-hmm. And she's like, sit down, sit down, sit down. She's yelling at him every time his shoe falls off, but he's like 7 or 8. So, he's a kid. He has headphones on, and then all of a sudden, I don't know what he did or whatever, but she pulls the headphones, unplugs it out of like the iPad, and wraps it pretty much around him. I'm not going to say like a noose around his neck, but he's still wearing the headphones, and she's just, take it off, take it off, take it off, take this shit off. And then
in front of everybody?
In front of everybody, absolutely humiliating this young man. And, the thing that stood out to me was not her actions, because I've already counted her out as being, frustrated, and it was a disgusting behavior. But I looked at that little boy's face, and you can see the rage that he was withholding in himself, because that was his mother. Not saying that he was doing it out of respect. Maybe he was doing it out of fear. Maybe he was trying to compose himself, because he might just be a buck wild child. Who knows? I don't know. But what I do know is that every time she looked away, he looked at her with absolute disgust, like he would stab her or something. Like, he was just so angry. And then that just got me thinking, like, her bad attitude about how she is basically molding him to either hate her or hate somebody else, because he obviously is not going to take the anger out on her, because I can tell every time she looked at him, he looked away. But every time she looked away, he was looking at her like she was the scum of the earth. And I was just like, wow, like, from the eyes and the mouths of children, 8 years old or less, like, he could not have been older than 8.
Yeah.
He could not. And it just, I don't know, is this how Black men learn to dislike women? or I might even say black men, is this how
Men.
men learn to dislike women from their mothers that they can't say anything to? Like, ugh, I don't know what, maybe I was just overlooking. Maybe I was
No. I can I tell you
overanalyzing
something?
the situation.
I agree with what you're saying. I mean, I remember as a child, this is like real shit. I know I like to joke around. When my mother would, because my mother used to do the most over the dumbest shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I look back at it now, I'm like, she did a wonderful job. But at the time, she used to whoop my ass over some stupid shit, and I would be in my room plotting how I was going to run away, how I was going to knock her ass the fuck out before I left the door. You know what I mean? Like all this stuff. And I was serious and I meant it. I was like, I can't wait till I turn 18. I can't wait till I turn 18, all that stuff. Imagine being a man knowing I don't ever have to be around this lady again if I don't want to, or I don't ever have to be around women like that ever again. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I do think that there probably is some type of correlation with the type of women that a man chooses in the future, based off of his experience with his mother.
And do you feel like, okay, so again, this isn't about fathers, but of course we have to add a man to this equation before it makes sense. He has to have mother and he has a father somewhere in this world. And his father could have been at work or could be dead, alive, in jail.
Yeah.
We don't know what the situation is, but so take it away from that example. But does the amount of time that mothers have with their children, is it more important? Like, you know how they say is a toxic mother worse than an absent father?
Yeah.
I believe both of them carry weight, but because the man is absent, it gives a toxic mother more access to a child than normal.
Yeah.
So it's like, because of the male being absent in the home or in certain scenarios where that's why it's important where men do go to doctor's appointments, where men, it's not just for that one reason, but for many reasons why as parents both roles are equally important. But it's like his absence is having her there, and if she's so frustrated, so tired, or so pissed off that she can't handle his shoe falling off his foot, then maybe she need a break or something, because she's making her son hate her, or like I said, he's going to learn to put that energy towards other women because a man ain't doing it. I don't know. That's probably where we definitely need one of our male listeners to chime in. I'm asking you, like, if you're listening and you're a man, please respond to this segment to me directly, and we'll either have you on as a follow-up to this, or we will use your response and I'll read it on our next segment. Or just because this is so important to me, like, to figure out what can we do to eliminate men being raised by these type of women, but growing up to penalize other women, because that little boy could very well be somebody's boyfriend or husband, and then now he's around here angry because he got mommy issues, wanting to, hurt somebody else's daughter. Like, I don't get it.
There's nothing more toxic when it comes to parenting than a parent that will, if the two parents are separated, then a parent that will hold on to the children, knowing you cannot provide for them, knowing you're not going to be kind to them, knowing you're abusive to them, knowing you don't give them any type of attention, you don't educate them, they're not well dressed, they're not clean, they're not nothing, just because you refuse to give them to their father, who is able to provide all that stuff, because he is not with you any longer. That is toxic as fuck.
That's definitely a toxic female. And you know what? There's another element of that I wanted. Let's just talk about the opposite side, though. Yeah. So what about those mothers who are trying to overcompensate for a male's absent and now becoming the moms who are over-mothering, making mommy's boys? Oh, there is not much in this world that I hate more than a fucking mama's boy.
I don't know. I like for a man to have a relationship with his mother, not in like a incestuous relationship, because there's some niggas that they don't do shit without their mother's approval. But yeah, shade. But I don't know. I'm okay with you having a relationship with your mother, of course, but like having to ask her every single little thing is, go sleep with your mother, sir.
Yeah, I do feel like that's another very deep topic, and I'm not even gonna really dive into that one too much, because at the end of the day, we can talk for hours about how moms, dads, how our actions as parents ruin or mold our children. And that is literally a great segue to our first sponsored commercial.
Let's do it.
So I kind of consider myself a cake connoisseur. I love cake. My cakes have to be soft, moist, and have the perfect amount of sweetness. The icing to cake ratio has got to be on point. Cookies Cakes always gets it right. You can order cupcakes or custom cakes and you will be hooked. Follow Cookies Cakes on Facebook and I Heart Cookies Cakes on IG to place your orders, and make sure you tell them the Hair God sent you.
My God, now I want me some cake.
Yeah, that was dope.
So, you know what? The topic is, it could be done for hours and hours and hours. Maybe what we'll do is we'll, like, every now and again we'll come back and touch on the subject or something like that. You down?
Yeah, I think it's like the song that doesn't end.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can always just inspire someone to think a new thought so that they can provide us with new material, new thoughts about it. But yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so let's wrap up with one of our letters from our listeners. Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. It says, "Dear Hair Gods, I need some guidance here. I have a good friend of mine who is amazing to me and my kids. She's always there when I need her and vice versa. The problem is, whenever we're out in public or in our friend group, I notice she's always throwing shade at me or making jabs. How should I handle this?"
Okay. And do you know the problem with these letters for me is that there's always another question that needs to be asked, that they're not here to represent that part of the question. So it's like I can only work with what we have.
Yeah.
But to me, it doesn't sound like that person
is your friend.
Yeah. But if that's the case, what kind of jabs are they making? What's considered a jab? And are you being sensitive? I'm you know me, I'm team FDB. FDB stands for fuck that bitch. So I don't know, if I would really just sit down and talk to her. There's nothing wrong with having a lemon squeeze. Sit down. I wouldn't say throw the whole friendship away, because if you guys are depending on each other and your kids love each other and that's the relationship, sit down, have a lemon squeeze, tell her how you feel, tell her what's on your mind. And if that does not change things, then square up with sis. How you feel?
Yeah, I agree. I think that talk to her just because you value her friendship clearly. If she does it again after you've said it once, fuck that bitch, and that is that. Like, there's nothing more, nothing less. Like, some people need an audience to act a fucking fool, and you are not their whatever
punching bag.
Yeah, punching bag. So fuck that bitch. And that being said,
that wraps up our first day of recording.
Oh my god.
I'm not gonna lie, I have to tell them, Reach, we have had a day of bloopers. We have had some good laughs.
Yeah.
Today was a learning experience, you guys. We definitely plan to be better. We will have some times where Rachel is Victoria Balenciaga, might just come on and say some things of her own or speak her mind, and I might do the same. But we are always going to give our best advice and unbiased/biased opinions about things. But we just want to thank you guys for tuning in today. Please subscribe. We are going to be on all podcast stations by the end of the week. So subscribe.
And tell a friend to tell a friend.
Tell a friend. And also, if you didn't like what we're talking about today, that's okay. Every episode will be different. If you guys have feedback, we're going to post a picture on our Instagram, the Gawdess Lounge, GAWDESSLOUNGE, on Instagram, and you can comment and make your comments as you listen, so that way when when we do go to follow up on this, we have you guys as reference, and we can always do better next time. So leave your feedback and let us know how we're doing.
Thank you guys for listening.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.